Hello everyone, I'm Veni Darlis. I'm lecturer of Management Department, Faculty of Economics, Universitas Andalas, Indonesia. Today, I'm going to talk about the history of management. Why we need managers today? There are some significant differences in business if we compare between today's and yesterday. Long time ago, people tend to work in families, but now people work in factories. Last time, companies employed skilled laborers, but now companies tend to employ specialized and unskilled laborers. And last times, people will work in small self-organized group, but now we look at that people tends to work in large factories. Yesterday, a company will have a unique and small batches of production, but now companies tends to have large standardized mass production. Managers are decision makers and leaders, so their actions can have a huge leverage impact on the rest of the organizations. And incorrect decisions can mean the difference between success and failures of the company or a major business operation, and could have significant monetary consequences as well. Poor or inadequate leadership can have a significant impact on a number of company employees. Before scientific management, organizational decision-making could best be described as a seat of the pants. Decisions were made haphazardly with no standardizations of procedure, systematic study, or collections of information. In contrast, scientific management truly studied and tested different work methods to identify the best, most efficient ways to complete a job. Scientific management is a theory of management that analyzes and synthesizes workflows. Its main objective is improving economic efficiency, especially labor productivity. It was one of the earliest attempts to apply science to the engineering of process to management. Scientific management is sometimes known as Taylorism after its founder, Frederick Winslow Taylor. Frederick Winslow Taylor was an American mechanical engineer who sought to improve industrial efficiency. He was one of the first management consultants. Taylor was one of the intellectual leaders of the efficiency movement, and his ideas, broadly conceived, were highly influential in the progressive era. Frederick Taylor is known today as the father of scientific management. One of his many contributions to modern management is the common practice of giving employees rest break throughout the day. The scientific management approach propounded by Taylor is based upon the following four principles. The first one, science, not rule of thumb. This principle says that we should not get stuck in a set routine with the old techniques of doing work. Rather, we should be constantly experimenting to develop new techniques which make them work much simpler, easier, and quicker. The second one, harmony, not discord. As per this principle, such as an atmosphere should be created in the organization that labor, the major factors of production and management consider each other is indispensable. Taylor has referred to such a situation as a mental revolution. Taylor firmly believed that the occurrence of a mental revolution will end all conflicts between the two parties and will be beneficial to both of them. 3. Cooperation, not individualism. According to this principle, all the activities done by different people must be carried on with a spirit of mutual cooperation. Taylor has suggested that the managers and the workers should jointly determine standards. This increases involvement and thus in turn increases responsibility, and in this way we can expect miraculous results. 4. Development of each and every person to his or her greatest efficiency and prosperity. According to this principle, the efficiency of each and every person should be taken care of right from his selections. A proper arrangement of everybody's training should be made. In addition to their use of motion studies to simplify work, Frank and Lillian Gilbert also made significant contributions to the employment of handicapped workers in industrial psychology. Lillian Gilbert, the first woman to receive PhD in management, also convinced the government to enact law regarding workplace safety, ergonomics, and child labor. Frank and Lillian Gilbert were prolific researchers and often used their family as union speaks. The work is the subject of Cheaper by the Dozen, written by their son and daughter. Purpose of motion study. The goal of motion study is to enhance work performance, quantity, and quality of output through analysis and improvement of body and hand movements. Motion study can be thought of system improvements at the micro level and is a part of human efforts engineering. In the contemporary work environment, motion study also involves reducing the ergonomic stresses associated with a job. This reduces costs, medical treatment, and time loss associated with work injuries. It may also reduce production losses associated with hiring and training replacement workers, as well as rehabilitations of persons with work-related injuries. Principle of motion study. 1. Principle relating to movement of human body. The laborer has to move his or her body with speed of performing a job. Speed of work cannot be increased without moving body properly. The use of two hands at a time is also important to increase the speed of work. Movement should be reduced for doing all necessary materials, tools, spare parts, and has to keep very near to the hands. If body movement can be minimized for doing a job, then energy and time will be saved. Have to take rest in between works for removing the tiredness. As a result, work speed will be increased and total works will be much more. To remove monotony, have to arrange recreations and ultimately it will give good result. Take care of health and have to arrange first aid that is necessary. Medicines have to keep inside the industry. 2. Principles or rules relating to workstations. All necessary materials, tools, spare parts, and etc. has to keep within the range of two hands of workers of the workstations. Either very much needed to perform certain types of job. In that case, work should be within the eyes range and sufficient light should be there. All types of input always be ready before starting a job. Space of workstation should be sufficient to do the job smoothly. Workstation should be clean with sufficient air and light be there. 3. Principles relating to tools and equipment. All tools and equipment have to keep within the ranks of workers that is near to the hands of workers. If necessary, the hands of workers have to keep free for doing any important jobs. In this case, the legs of workers have to use. Have to use automatic system or conveyors belt for carrying input from workstation to other. All machines and equipment have to be in order that is in good conditions. As a result, no time will be wasted. 4. Principles of good transportations. There should be a nice device to transfer goods from one place to another place. Better if there is fully automatic system. There should be a nice device for receiving raw material from truck and prompt delivery finished good into the truck. 5. Principle of time saving. Have to study time for doing every step of job. The aim will be reduced time for doing a particular job, and in this case human movements always have to be fast and the machine will be in good quality. Henry Gwen, in addition to creating the Gantt chart, made significant contributions to management with pay for performance plans and the trainings and development of workers. A Gantt chart shows times in various units on the x-axis and tasks on the y-axis, visually indicating what tasks must be completed at which time in order to complete the project. When we hear the terms of bureaucracy, we think of inefficiency and red tape, incompetence and ineffectiveness. However, when German sociologist Max Weber proposed the idea of bureaucratic organizations, monarchies were associated with these problems. Bureaucracy literally means to rule from a desk or office. In a bureaucracy, people would lead by virtue of rational legal authority, from knowledge, expertise, and experience. What comes to your mind when you encounter the terms of bureaucracy? More often than not, you will think of slow-moving, obstacle-filled, and tedious process that do not get your job done but instead make you run around from pillar to pillar for your work. Though most of us have negative connotations when we think of bureaucracy, and liken it to an appendage or necessary evil that must be tolerated. However, bureaucracy is more than this, and as the famous sociologist Max Weber postulated, it is a form of administrative control over the levers of decision-making within an organization. According to Weber, the organizations can be economic, political, and social or religious organizations. Indeed, Weber didn't restrict himself to a particular type of organization nor a particular form of bureaucracy. So there are several types that we have to understand about the bureaucracy. The first one is qualifications-based hiring. Second one, merit-based promotions. Third one, chains of commands. 4, divisions of labor. 5, impartial applications of rules and procedures. And number 6 is recorded in writing. And the last one is managers separate from owners. Henry Fayol is best known for developing 5 functions of managers and 14 principles of management, as well as his belief that management could and should be taught to others. The 5 functions of successful management are planning, organizing, coordinating, commanding, and controlling, while the 14 principles of management are 1. Divisions of work, authority and responsibility, discipline, unity of commands, unity of directions, subordinations of individual interests. Number 7 is remunerations. Number 8 is the degree of centralizations. 9 is color change. Number 10 is order. Number 11 is equity. Number 12, stability of tenure of personnels. 13, initiative. And the last one is number 14, esprit de corps. Scientific management focuses on improving the efficiency of manufacturing facilities and their workers. Bureaucratic management focuses on using knowledge, fairness, and logical rules to increase the organization efficiency. Administrative management focuses on how and what managers should do in their jobs. In contrast, the human relations approach to management focuses on the psychological and social aspects of work. People are valuable organizational resources whose needs are important. Mary Parker Follett was an American social worker, management consultant, philosopher, and pioneer in the field of organizational theory and organizational behavior. Along with Lillian Gilbert, she was one of the 2 great women management experts in the early days of classical management theory. She has been called the mother of modern management. Instead of emphasizing industrial and mechanical components, she advocated for what she saw as the far more important human elements, regarding people as the most valuable commodity present within any business. Her many contributions to modern management include the ideas of negotiations, conflict resolutions, and power sharing. Follett is known for developing ideas regarding constructive conflict and coordinations. She said that conflict is the appearance of difference of opinions, of interests. Follett believed that managers could deal with conflict in 3 ways: as shown in this slide. Domination is a victory of one side over the other. Compromise involves both parties giving up some of what they want in order to reach agreement. And subsequently, integrative conflict resolutions involve both parties indicating their preferences and then working together to find an alternative that meets the needs of both. Elton Mayow's idea became popular during the 20th century when labor unrest and protests were widespread in the US, Europe, and Asia. Mayow's work proved relevant as managers looked for ways to increase productivity and to improve worker satisfaction and working conditions. The Houghton plant of Western Electric was located in Chicago. It has some 29,000 employees and manufactured telephones and telephones equipment, principally for AT&T. The company had a reputation for advanced personnel policies and had welcomed a research study by the National Research Council into the relationship between workplace lighting and individual efficiency. The study began in 1924 by isolating two groups of workers in order to experiment with the impact of various incentives on their productivity. Improvement to levels of lighting produced increase in productivity, but so too did reversions to standard lighting and even below standard lighting in both groups. The initial assumptions, therefore, was that increased output stemmed from variations alone. Other incentives, including payment incentive and rest pause, were manipulated at regular intervals. And although output levels varied, the trend was inexorably upwards. Whatever experimentations was applied, output went up. Although it had been fairly conclusively determined that lighting had little or nothing to do with output levels, the assistant works manager, George Pennock, agreed that something peculiar was going on and that experimentation should continue. For industry to benefit from the experiment at Houghton, Mayow first concluded that supervisors needed training in understanding the personal problems of workers, and also in listening and interviewing techniques. He held that a new supervisor should be less aloof, more people-oriented, and more concerned and skilled in handling personal and social situations. It was only later, after a period of reflections, that Mayow was able to conclude that job satisfaction increased as the workers were given more freedom to determine the conditions of the working environment and to set their own standard of output. Intensified interactions and cooperation create a high level of group cohesion. Job satisfaction and output depend more on cooperation and feeling of worth than on physical working condition. In Mayow's view, workers had been unable to find satisfactory outlets for expressing personal problems and dissatisfactions in their work life. The problem, as Mayow perceived it, was that managers, through the answer to industrial problems, resided in technical efficiency, when actually the answer was a human and social one.